Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Becoming podcast. It's been a long time. This episode is going to be just me. I felt it was necessary since I've taken such a long break, just to reconnect with you all with explaining what has been going on the last couple of years. I've meditated on this, I've thought about it, and I came to the conclusion. I know I don't owe anyone an explanation, but I started this podcast because I really wanted to help people going through their spiritual journey, whether it was a dark night of the soul or connecting with their gifts or having experiences that they couldn't explain. And I promised to always keep it real. So I wanted to do so in this episode. Where shall I begin? I think I will start with the reason why we stopped recording this year is it just wasn't working out. That's it, period. I don't feel like there needs to be a there's honestly not an explanation. It just wasn't working out. And I feel like the universe has guided me to continue the podcast the way that I started it, doing it on my own and having guests, but also doing some episodes like this where it's not going to always be about me, promise. But I do want to talk about angels and mediumship and how to connect with your own gifts. And I have an array of topics that I want to cover. But first, I did want to just be completely transparent. I think that with the way that the world is going right now, authenticity is lacking. And I've always pretty much been authentic, a perfectionist, yes, but I've always pretty much kept it real. So I've just been in this, we'll call it an evolution process, where about 2.5 years ago, I just so funny. I just keep seeing the tower card. That's the perfect way to explain it. I had a disillusionment happen, and with my marriage, and it was beyond heartbreaking to say the least. It was the worst thing I've ever gone through. If you've been listening, you know I've lost my dad. I helped him pass. I was there when my best friend passed away. I've gone through some pretty tragic things in my life, and this, if you accumulate and put together all of the things that I've gone through, this was worse than all of it combined. So I don't really want to go into the details of it. I don't feel like it's necessary right now. Um, but I do want to say, I feel like explaining I was diagnosed with complex PTSD just sums it up. So we're just going to say that I was diagnosed with complex PTSD and went through a dark night of the soul for a significant period of time. And it's so funny. I don't know why, but over the course of like the last couple of years, I do not like using like spiritual labels like awakening, dark night of the soul. I don't know why. It like really bothers me, but I wish there was another way to explain it. That's the best way to sum it up. I was disillusioned. I had to replay my life back and basically accept the fact that it was all a lie. I learned so much throughout the last 2.5 years. And it was really difficult because my father passed away, and then I believe it was like 6 months later, give or take a couple months. My mom moved away without telling me, and then 2 days later, I found out about my husband. And so it was like three losses all at once, and they were all significant. And during that time as well, I lost all of my friends. Now through going through a lot of my own, just through working through everything and like developing this like amazing sanctuary within, I understand that it was just too heavy for those people at the time to deal with. And I don't hold any ill will towards them at all whatsoever. But it was very difficult for me because I had, my life set up and literally everything was taken from me at once. And the universe now, hindsight's 2020, now I can say that the universe was setting me up to depend on myself, trust myself. Throughout the course of being with my ex for a decade, I had intuitions that he wasn't being faithful, and I was told that I was crazy, and I was trained to not trust my intuition. And yeah, I will slowly probably share a little bit throughout the course of the next couple of episodes. But it's like fucked up that it happened, but I'm also glad that it happened because when I first started reading, when I first became a medium, my gift was so easy. It was like very natural. I was just like connected with myself. I was a single mom at the time, and I would wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning and meditate and see all these amazing colors that didn't exist and have these crazy experiences with angels. And throughout the course of being in a relationship with my ex, I still had experiences and I was still a medium, but it was different. I developed the anxiety disorder. I talked about it on an earlier episode, DPDR, and depression. I had severe postpartum depression and all of these mental health issues. And so, throughout the course of accepting this and processing everything that had happened, I started to realize that I had disconnected from myself, which was causing the DPDR and depression. And I also realized when you're in relationship, it doesn't even have to be a relationship. It could be a job. It could be like it could be interaction with someone. If you're very sensitive, like I am, I do want to say everybody's gifted. It's just everyone's gift is different. Mine is very heightened. I feel like based off of past lives and just my upbringing, I was hyper vigilant, and it just made me really sensitive to other people's energy. And so over the course of being with my ex, I just lost, I guess, my sense of self. And I was always a perfectionist, and I didn't realize it because obviously it was like a process. It didn't happen in one day. And over a period of time, I started to trust him over my own intuition. And then one day I made an intention to the universe. I said out loud, show me if my intuition is correct. And the universe showed me 2 days later. And then I made a decision and I filed for divorce. And it was beyond heartbreaking. It was horrific. And so I went through a period of time where I was really, really, I couldn't get out of bed. I suffered a lot. I'm just having flashbacks from that period of time. It was really hard to say the least. And then being diagnosed with complex post-traumatic stress disorder, the doctor had told me that it was going to take me 3 to 5 years to move past everything, which felt like a death sentence at the time. And now I'm about to hit year 3. And now I'm like, oh, okay, she was right. But I'm coming out of it. But I did lose everything. It felt like my world shattered. It didn't feel like it actually did shatter. And I worked on surrendering and having to live my life not understanding at that moment, like what had happened and why it had happened. And then having to raise 3 kids and the mix of all of it was also very challenging. And then not having any support as well was challenging. And there's other things going on too that I'm not going to mention, but it was really challenging and like so fucked up. And I'm laughing because that's just like what I do now because I've been through so much. But I realized at that moment I needed help. Like I was grieving the loss of my dad and the loss of my mom and then the loss of my husband. And so I told the universe, like, please, like, help me get through this quicker than I was told I was going to take a really long time. And it also helped me like not lose my heart because I was always such a lover and a giver. And by being betrayed so heavily in so many different ways by so many different people, I didn't want to lose that. I pride myself on being like such a lover and caring about other people. And so, in the mix of all of this, as you know, was doing ketamine and infusion therapy at a clinic with after my dad passed away. That was at the time I didn't know it was a stepping stone to what came next. I ended one of the doctors there had recommended that I do. They were doing a research study for LSD, and I was very against it. I was very judgmental, and that was when my dad passed away, and then everything that had happened with my ex. Two of the doctors actually brought up and they said that I would be perfect for it. My anxiety was through the roof at the time, and um, if they had told me to jump out of a plane and said it was going to help me, I probably would have done that. To be honest with you, I was so desperate. And so it was a double-blind study, and I wasn't guaranteed to be dosed at all. And at that point, I had surrendered significantly. And I do feel like ketamine taught me that because I was so scared of letting go. And the medicine taught me that. And so it made it a little bit easier to make this decision. And so for 2 months, there was a process of being interviewed by the company that was doing the research study. And it was a really long process. And they kept reminding me, we don't even know if you're going to get dosed. And I'm like, I know, I'm giving it to the universe. Like, what's meant to happen is going to happen. So the day came, and it was one of the most incredible experiences of my life. And so there was this like little back room. So I did it at the clinic, but they have this they had, now it's different. They've built it out. But they have this tiny little room. It was probably like just a little bit bigger than a closet. It fit a futon and then two chairs, and that was it. And so I had to be there at 7 o'clock in the morning, and I Ubered over, and they had told me, bring like a book just in case you don't get dosed. You still have to stay for the full 12 or 14 hours. I can't remember. And so I was prepared, and I had a couple sessions with the therapist prior to. Didn't really vibe with the male therapist, but loved the female therapist, Camille. She was fucking incredible. And so I'm doing all of this because I feel like it's really important if you're going to do psychedelics to do it in a controlled environment with people who know what they're doing. And I'll talk about why later. Maybe not on this episode, maybe a different one. So for the research study, there's three rules, I believe. One, there had to be a male and female therapist in the room. The music had to be controlled. So they made the playlist. And then I had to stay for 12 to 14 hours so they can observe me. I believe that was it. Oh, and then I had to swallow 8 to 10 pills. I can't remember. Trauma does that to you. So everybody knew my story. Everybody knew like the severity of what had happened. And so prior to taking the pills, we all stood in a circle and held hands. And I had to have an intention. And that's really important too when you do psychedelics, is to have an intention. My intention was to trust myself again. And so I said that out loud, and they all hugged me, and I swallowed the pills like one after another. And the doctor had told me, like, slow down. You don't have to do this all at once. And I was like, nah, I'm ready for this. So they could have been placebo or they could be the medicine. So I remember, that's so weird. I like remember this so vividly. I remember sitting there and swallowing the pills, and then within 5 minutes the two therapists are just like on their one's the guy was on his phone, and then Camille was like writing some stuff down, and I was just sitting there. She's like, how about you start journaling, like how you're feeling? So I go grab my journal, and this is like literally within like I would say within 15 minutes. But I feel like it was sooner than that, actually. I started to feel the medicine come on. And I told them, I said, I need to go to the bathroom. I know that I did not get the placebo. And I just kind of felt like a little bit woozy. And I started like seeing like colors trails. And so I went to the bathroom. That was the other rule. Someone had to help me, but they waited outside the door. So they call the whole research team. They call the head, the owner of where I did it at Kadima, and let Dr. Feifel know that I didn't get the placebo. And the whole research team came in, and oh my gosh, as soon as I came out of the bathroom, it started to hit me, and I was like, really funny. Just like, yay, I didn't get the placebo. Not knowing what I just got myself into. And so I immediately, it's so weird. I haven't really talked about this. So I apologize if I pause or if I get emotional. Actually, I'm not going to apologize for getting emotional. It was a very emotional. Immediately, there's a little futon on there and I had brought my own pillow and I put the pillow on the floor and then I just felt like I wanted to be like underneath something. Like I felt like I was gonna fly away, kind of like if was a tornado and it was like, pulling you, you wanted to like hold on to something. I started feeling like that. So I go, and Camille had said, like, you can do anything in the room. If you want to get on the floor, you can get on the floor. Like, we had a talk prior to. So I felt very comfortable, like, doing my own thing. And then she had just said, if you need anything, let us know. And then also, they were going to take my vitals every 30 minutes, but I could decline if need be. And again, if I needed anything, just to ask. And they prepped me and they said, depending on the dosage, I might not, so scary, I might not be able to hear their voices. And at the time, I was like, what do you mean I won't be able to hear your voice? And I remember both therapists looking at each other and smiling. And they're like, if it happens, it's like, we can't really explain it to you. You have to have the experience. So, um, going back, the came on so quickly and I clawed on to the leg of this futon with a pillow and I got really, really hot. And I remember telling them, like, I'm so hot and I wanted to take my shirt off. I had a sports bra on. They got fans and they had fans blowing on me. And I just started hysterically crying, like, could not stop crying. And I remember like being on the floor and looking up and no one was bothered by it. And it felt so comforting to like, maybe it was like an inner child wound of like me having an emotion and it affecting making somebody mad or scaring someone. I don't know. But I remember looking up and just seeing the male therapist, like he was on his phone. And it did not feel rude at all. I was like glad that he wasn't just like staring at me. And then Camille like asking me if I needed anything. And again, prior to, she had asked, like, is it okay if we touch you? Because when you're on the medicine, if people touch you, it helps you feel your body. And I was fine with her, not him. Because at the time, again, just had issues with men. And so, and then there was two other females in the room and loved them. And so, anyways, I just remember like hysterically crying and I just had tissue after tissue after tissue to the point where like I just couldn't even keep up with getting tissues where I was like just hysterically sobbing, like deep grief, like if someone had died in front of me. That's how I felt. And I remember feeling like I needed to like take it a notch back, but not having any control over it. And so I continued to cry, and Camille ended up coming and sitting on the floor with me and like rubbing my back. And then I got to the point where I couldn't open my eyes, but I knew where everyone was in the room. This is very hard to explain. It's kind of like I was out of my body, but I wasn't. Like it's like I had eyes and I knew where everybody was, but it was all feeling based. And I had felt the male therapist leave. And when he left, I felt like this great. And so I had told the female therapist, I said, I don't feel comfortable with him in here. Is there any way that we could have someone else? And so she had to call and get approval. And the psychiatrist came and he approved it. And so I got to work with one of the females. Her name's Angela or Angelique. Can't even remember. And I had been working with her because I had to come in again 2 months, and I was in and out of appointments, and I bonded with her, and so she got to sit with me, and she sat next to my head. Camille was on my right, and then there was another one that I bonded with, and she was behind me, and all of the sudden started to come out of time is the best way I can explain it to you. And I started to hear their voices like echoes, and it felt like everything was far away. Like I had to pee, and it felt like my body was like so far away that I wouldn't be able to pee. And so I told him, like, I need to pee, but like I don't think I can. And so I was like, I'll just hold it. And I made sure not to drink very much water in the morning because of that. So I knew I wasn't gonna like pee on myself or anything. And so they were talking, and I could hear. So, say somebody said hi, it would be like, hi, 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 like funnel. And I remember I wasn't scared. I was just if you listen to previous episodes, I was a very anxious person. And so, like, not being in control, you would have thought I would have freaked the fuck out, but I did not. I literally surrendered to this and felt like this divine presence guiding me through it. And it got to the point where I could see them. It's hard to explain. Like my eyes were closed, but they were there. They kind of looked like avatars. And they then became trees. And I know this sounds very like hippy dippy, but it was so real to me. And like Camille was like the mother tree, like the biggest one, the grounding one, the one that I felt safe with. And I slowly came out of time, and both females, like the one like disappeared, and then the next one disappeared. And then I knew that I wasn't going to be able to hear them or see them or feel them anymore. And oh my God, I'm just so lucky because Camille was so experienced. She kept squeezing my arm so I could feel her squeezing my arm. And so I felt like, okay, like I'm okay. And what I saw next was it's so weird. It was like this skeleton that was me. It had like really long hair, and it was like the wind was coming at it so quickly. And I was watching myself or experiencing myself, and it was so slow. And again, time doesn't exist during this. Like I have no if this was like 5 hours, 1 hour, 3 minutes, no idea. All I know is I had a flag, and this flag represented me allowing myself to die. I needed to get to the top of this mountain, and it was very slow. If I had to say, it felt like it was 10 hours. And again, I couldn't hear them. I couldn't sense them at all anymore. I couldn't feel her touching me anymore either. And I just went with it, and I just watched, and I just had this experience moving and slow, and like and wind being like kind of my enemy, like trying to push me back, and me like being very very to get to the top of this mountain where I could reclaim myself. That's what it felt like. And so that happened. And if I had to put a timestamp on it, I think it was like 2 or 3 hours. And then after that happened, all of a sudden, the scene changed, and it was so beautiful. I ended up in outer space, and I was sitting on the earth, and I just saw all of these stars. And I've always felt this like connection to the stars where like I belong there. And I sat there, and the music was playing, and I could feel it in my body. And it's again, if you haven't experienced this, it's very hard to like convey this and to put it into words. But I felt it in my body, and I remember being like, oh my God, the music's so beautiful. And then I heard Camille say she has synesthesia. Yes, she has synesthesia. And it was like this sorority, like all of the girls, I could feel their energy, and they were so happy for me and so supportive. My gift was even like more, my senses were like heightened, and I just felt like them like cheering me on. And I saw piano keys playing as the music was playing. And the music, it was so weird. Like it would get stuck on a note. Like, so if it's like a piano playing, like ding, and then it would go ding. And so then I would say, change the music, because it would start to feel like very like I was at a funeral and sad. And so I had no problem like speaking up or like being worried about, telling them what to do. They made me feel very comfortable. And then this song came. And so, anyways, I'm out in outer space, and this song comes on. It's by Trevor Hall, and it's called Old Story. Highly recommend listening to it. And it's basically, it's in it, you got to let that old story go. and it starts playing on this piano. And during the guitar part of it, my father played the guitar when he was alive. I felt my father's soul through the guitar in my body. Again, I know that sounds so crazy, but it was so beautiful. And it was still hard for me to talk. And but for some, Camille was just so intuitive, and she asked, she's like, "Do you want me to play that song again?" And I said, "Yeah." And we listened to it on repeat for I don't even know how long. I think like 2 hours. Like, bless her soul, bless her heart. It was amazing. And then I was crying throughout the whole time. And during that time, I just felt this immense like grief, not grief of like what had occurred. It was like grief throughout my entire life, like all of the trials, tribulations, betrayals, the loneliness, just like every negative feeling I have ever experienced. I was feeling that. I was just feeling the grief of like this kind of like this poor girl, not this victim mentality, but like empathy and compassion for myself, which was like really hard for me to do prior to because I was really hard on myself. And I had that realization too. And I, in space, I just remember seeing the sun, and I was sitting in the universe, and there was a dove that was just flying towards me, and it was so beautiful. And then the medicine started to wear off, and I was able to go to the bathroom, and I came back in and laid back down, and the song came on, and it was like bloop 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 bloop, and I could feel it all throughout my body. It was so fucking cool. It was so amazing. And then I saw all of these, like, it was kind of like the nervous system, like all of these like threads, these like nerves connecting all of us. And I told them, my eyes were closed, and both women were holding my hands, and someone was at my feet helping like to ground me. And I told them, I'm like, I know that I'm on drugs right now, but you got like, we are so connected, you guys. We're so fucking connected. And I just started having like all of these like awarenesses in regards to like the meaning of life, and like how connected we truly are. And I keep saying that because like we are truly connected, and like we do pick up on each other's vibes. And like I realized like how sensitive I was, not sensitive in a negative way, in a really positive way, where like I could feel other people's energy, but like throughout my life, I just like pushed it away and was taught like not to trust myself. And where negative people, I got the awareness where like negative people felt familiar because that's like what felt safe to me because that's what I grew up with. And so throughout this experience, I sort of had like this immense like empathy and compassion for myself, for like all of the horrible things that I had been through throughout my life. Like some stuff came up that I had forgotten about, and some stuff came up that I didn't, that I like knew had happened, but I didn't realize how it affected me. I watched my life from beginning to end, and there wasn't only one moment where I was like, where are my kids? Where are my kids at? And Camille kept saying, they're at home. And I'm like, we need to call them. And she's like, they're at home. They're safe. I promise you. And just remember feeling like I need to talk to my kids, like just kind of just like confusion. That probably was only lasted like a couple minutes, and maybe I brought it up like 3 times. Other than that, not one negative experience. I saw my life and what I had experienced, and I had immense compassion for my ex. I saw his soul and my soul intertwining based off of like trauma. And I had immense compassion for him and empathy for him. And it was to the point where I was like asking if I could go, like I want to go to a bus stop and like hug everyone, because like I realized like how challenging life is, and not just for me, like we all have different experiences, and they're just like shaped differently for everyone. They're experienced differently for everyone, and mine just happened to be like this, more a little bit more intense, or a lot more intense than other people. But it helped me like release this victim mentality. And then the music, I had asked her to play the song again, and again we listened to it on repeat forever. And all of a sudden I felt all of these spiritual beings around me, animals, ancestors, my loved ones. It was like the room was heavy, and so heavy, like every molecule in the room was a spiritual being helping me through this process. And it was so beautiful. And I remember saying that this is so beautiful. Like, I could equate it to when they put my daughter on my chest when she was born. That's the most love I have ever felt in this lifetime. I felt so loved and so supported. And I had this inner knowing that like I chose these experiences and that I could trust myself to get myself through them. And so I started doing a psychic reading for her, and she was like, we bonded. We bonded, and I saw her and I working in Costa Rica together, like way far off. Like I would probably say I was in my 50s at that time, and I started just telling her like all the stuff that I was getting off of her, and she was very sweet and took it all in and didn't take advantage of my gift at all. And we shared. She made some experiences, and it made me feel like I could open up even more. Felt so safe, and I think it was like the first time in my life that I felt so safe. Like I had always suffered from anxiety from when I was a tiny little baby. And in that moment, I realized I was shown that my mom was stressed out and she was pregnant, and I was born with anxiety. I was anxious in the womb, and it wasn't my fault. And I had this like awareness that that I had blamed myself for it. And so I sat there again and cried and cried and cried, but it wasn't a sad cry anymore. It was like more of this like release and this like understanding and like this grieving of like this inner child, like deep inner child wounding, and like me aligning with my inner child and like saving her and loving her and like not avoiding her or neglecting her anymore. And it was just so fucking profound and so beautiful and exactly what I needed. And I am just remembering like I had to go to the bathroom again, and they had to put like something over the mirror because I guess if you look at yourself, you might like freak out. I don't know. I did almost take the thing off to see, and then I like had this thought like this is such a pleasant experience, don't ruin it. So I didn't take the cover off the mirror. But I remember being just so happy and like walking through and being like, you guys, I got the high. And I did. I got the highest fucking dose. And the doctor, they had to come in. And there was one time where they were doing they came to do my vitals, and I told them no. And I said, don't touch me. And when the male therapist came in, I just kept, that was what happened. I was like edging away from him, and Camille picked up on it, and she's like, do you feel uncomfortable? And I said, yes, I don't want him to touch me. And then, after that, he had to wait outside the room for like 14 hours. But I was like, girl power. And again, it just felt like sorority sisters. I was never in a sorority. It was like the healthy type. Like, we're all in this together. And again, I've never felt so loved by strangers. Or like in my lifetime, like so seen, like I feel like I've always been such a giver. And this time I was being given to, and it was amazing. And the doctor had to come in, and it was a female doctor. And she had known my story because she came in and she's like, they got you to the dark side. And she was just kidding. And I was like, yeah. She's like, I'm like, got the dose. And and she had known what had happened because I had done ketamine a few times with her. And she was beyond happy for me. And I had told her, like, all of this, just what I had experienced. And they had to do these tests where, like, you have to touch your nose. I couldn't touch my nose. And I never understood that, like, for sobriety tests where you have to touch your nose. I'm like, it's so easy. I couldn't. I kept, like, missing. And I was hysterically laughing. She was laughing too. I couldn't really, it was hard for me to walk. But it wasn't like scary at all. I was just like in this like blissful state, and like they had this like one of those projectors that had like the galaxy lights, and that was on, and the room was dark, and I was just staring at the lights, feeling this immense amount of love. And for the first time, like all of the burdens that had been put on my shoulder throughout my entire life were taken, and I was just myself. And I felt like in that was when I gave myself permission to be me, where I had this realization that I've always been a perfectionist, and I've always put other people before myself and sacrificed it. And it was this unconscious thing that I did. And then some codependency issues. I just described myself as being very independent. I lived by myself throughout college and when I was raising my daughter by myself for 5 years. But there was still an aspect where I like needed people, or I would like completely isolate and like fluctuate between the two. And it was just a coping mechanism. So I had all these like awarenesses happen throughout. And again, there wasn't one negative experience. And I saw my life mission was to to share the story of being in a narcissistic abusive relationship. That will be in my book. And to share my mediumship and to teach people that everybody's gifted. And so I like in that moment, I was gonna say it was like fully downloaded. It was already in me. I just feel like I fully accepted it and felt worthy of it. That's the word. And so yeah, I ended up, I mean, there's so much more. I won't cover all of it now, but I ended up going home and was still the medicine, it lasted like 18 hours. It got to the point where I went downstairs and was like eating anything I possibly could to get it out of my system. But I had a Galaxy Light and I put the song on and I just listened to it and repeat and like danced by myself. And old me would have like never shared that and been like, how cringy. Again, like now I just don't care anymore. I feel like we're all programmed to be this in a box. And throughout my experiences, I clung to that, other people's approval, putting again self last from the way that I was raised. And it was this journey of like reconnecting with myself in a way that wouldn't have been possible. Like I've been in therapy. I still go to therapy. I love therapy. And I did the ketamine infusions. And I just want to say, like, I tried everything. And that experience was the game changer for me. And it took time afterwards. Still, I became so that happened, and then that happened right after actually. Like I think it was like 4 weeks after I had made the decision to get a divorce, and my ex hadn't moved out yet, but he was staying in the room downstairs. And then the next week he moved out. And it was perfect because it gave me, I mean, it was so fucking horrific and sad and challenging and miserable and oh my God, just it was fucking horrific. But with that experience, I knew that I was being so supported by the universe and that it all had happened to make me a better version of myself, to clear ancestral wounding that nobody was going to clear in this lifetime, that I chose to, and allow him to do the same. Like he has, we all have free will. He has the free will to do the same thing. And that was the start of my healing, this crazy healing journey I went on. And after I started working with the universe and doing intention setting. And this year I said I did stay in a period of shock. And that took, I don't even know, like 8 months, maybe a year, where I was just in shock with everything. And I was doing all the things. So the LSD didn't like clear everything, but it did give me the ability to like cope in a new way and like forgive myself. That was the biggest thing. And to know that it wasn't my fault what he did to me, it was like based off of his own wounding. And I didn't realize that I had been blaming myself. And we discussed that too, like I said with Camille, and she had said, this isn't your fault. And when she said that, I was like, oh my God, I didn't realize that. Like I had been blaming myself. And so that was the start. And then I continued to try to be consistent with everything. And the universe forced surrender on me. And so I had to take some time off after that and clear a lot of shit, a lot of toxicity that had allowed in my life. Not just people, like be my own behavior, subconscious programming. I became very much aware of how I would make myself small or just try to like make other people happy, care about what other people thought about me. And I feel like the universe continued to, there were significant experiences that happened after that where I was continued to be fucking crushed. Trusting people where the pattern remained to be the same. I was lied to about just, I can't even fully get in. I mean, maybe I will, but I ended up going to England last year because I was searching for, I don't know what I was searching for. I just kept not, I don't know. I just felt like I needed more with mediumship. And I had taken classes before because there was this group of mediums that had said, like, you can't be self-taught. You need to, take classes. And so, like, that belief stuck to me like a piece of tape. And so I started taking classes, but every class I took, I never got anything out of it. And I'm not dismissing like the teachers or anything. It just like I was self-taught. And so anyways, I went to England and oh my God, I did the most profound readings there and like incredible. And I don't, if you know me, like people will be like, "Oh my God, you're such a good medium." I'll no, it's spirit, it's not me. And so even when I was in England at the college, I was like, "It's not me, it's spirit." And then I started to have this realization like, wow, my gift is really good. Like it's really rare. And I met a good group of women there. It was what I needed at the time. And then I met a guy as well. And long story short, a pattern repeated. And he said he was getting divorced, showed me the divorce papers. And again, I didn't listen to my intuition. And he, long story short, had lied about it. And down the rabbit hole I went again of just like being so mad at myself and feeling so betrayed. But I feel like that was the end of the lesson because after that was when I promised myself that I would never not trust my intuition again. And I would never take somebody's word for it. Like if I feel something, I feel it. And that's why I'm sharing this. I don't want to make this all about me, but I'm by sharing and being so raw with like my own experiences. There's so many women and men who we all are gifted. We are all souls, and so we can connect with other souls. We all have energy. We can all feel. And so, like, if you have an intuition that somebody's lying, not being truthful, that's an emotion. Your emotions don't lie. Trust it. I wish somebody would have told me that. It would have saved me from a lot of heartache. And during the LSD experience, I was shown to share my story when I was ready. Fortunately, it's taken me like 2 years, but I've been in this like immense evolution process where I have let go of, as cliche as it is, everything that's no longer serving me and being okay, being the bad guy in other people's stories, not having to defend myself, and just accepting and surrendering through this horrific chapter. And I say horrific, but I also want to say beautiful because it was like beautifully ugly, where it was so fucking dark, like so dark. But throughout, it was like these incredible spiritual experiences that I had. And I will share them eventually. They're so profound and like so personal that I still want to keep them like very close to my chest. But I have just been on this journey of self-discovery, to say the least. And I didn't want to half-ass it. I didn't want to come on and, just start recording and act like nothing happened. I just feel like with what's happened, this year has been the hardest year of my life. I filed for divorce in 2023 and now we're 2025. And this year has been by far the hardest because I'm not in a state of shock and I'm not numbing myself in any way. And I've literally had to own my part in these decisions. Like with my ex, there was red flags there. I ignored them. I made excuses for him. Same thing with the guy that lied about being married. Red flags, I ignored them. And so I feel like there's this like, this different grieving process where I'm like taking, not hard on myself, but like taking responsibility. And I think that's like really painful to do. And so I'm not on ketamine in over since before, I believe, the LSD. I'm not on anything. I do feel like it was a really amazing tool for me to have. It really got me through the severe anxiety that I had occurred after my dad passed away, and then everything that had happened with my ex and with family and stuff. But now I'm just doing like raw dogging life, as I like to say. So I am back. I have been doing readings, and that was the other thing. I used to have this belief that like I had to be perfect. I had to be in a perfect mood to do a reading. And I do, I have crazy integrity. I'm a mediumship teacher as well, and I teach integrity. And I would never do a reading if I felt like it wasn't going to be like 10 out of 11. I still feel like a perfectionist when it comes to that. But one of the things that helped me out of it was doing readings. And I had talked to the universe. And again, it was a conversation that I previously had had with the universe, where I told the universe when I was going through my breakup with my daughter's father, I said, I'll go to therapy and I'll work on everything. Just don't take my gift away. Let me please like help people because that's what makes me happy. And so I said the same thing. I said, please let me do mediumship. And there was a period of time where I was really mad at God and like, had the fuck you like mentality towards spirit. And that was at the beginning. And then that turned into like a gratitude, like, thank you for showing me. I believe my higher self showed me and my father because of the way that I found out, because I heard my dad's voice in my head. Again, that'll be in my memoir. But anyway, by literally just, I had to let everything go and I had to let everything fucking crumble and fall apart. And like my expectations of the life that I thought I was gonna have, this like family life and being married, I had to let that crumble. I had to let like long childhood friends go. I had to let that crumble. The relationships and expectations I had of other people crumble. And within doing so, it reconnected me back to myself. And I developed this amazing, like, sense of self-worth, this sanctuary within. I am so cautious now of like who I let into my bubble. I have a select good, after actually I have to say, I lost all of my friends. There was one, shout out to Katie. And then there's another woman too, but really quick, shout out to Katie. We met, she's been on the podcast before. She was there for me significantly. She checked in on me like often, frequently, make sure I was okay when she was going through her own shit. She never left my side. And if I would have asked her to flown out with her, she would have. So thank you to her because she was incredible. There's another woman, I did a reading for her. I won't say her name because I don't know if she's okay with it, but I did a reading for her. Her husband had died, I believe, from a brain tumor, and we stayed in contact. And I don't really let clients be friends with me on my personal Instagram. But for some reason, I connected with her and she was very motherly to me. And one day she messaged me and I had told her everything that had happened and just that she knew that I didn't have any support. And every single day she messaged me and she checked in on me. So thank you very much for that because she made me feel, she brought light to a very dark chapter of my life. So I just want to say I am back and I feel like this is the best version of myself than I've ever been. And I also want to reiterate, I would never do readings if I couldn't connect. I pride myself on being an evidential medium, being able to evidentially connect with spirit. Throughout the course of this podcast, you'll hear me just share about that. It's my pet peeve when people call themselves evidential mediums and they're not. But I just want to reiterate that do, I would never do a shitty reading. And I haven't. It's crazy. My gift has gotten stronger and like more evidential. And I realized that like I had all this chaos around me and like negative entities around me. And from like what he was doing. And now I'm just this clear, high vibrating little channel of love. And so, yes, it got really fucking dark. Yes, it was the hardest chapter of my life by far, but I understand why it had to happen that way. And, it's hard getting on here being raw. And I know people are going to talk shit like, how can you dupe a medium? I knew, I brought it up. He gaslit me. I mean, he convinced me to go on fucking meds. He told me I was crazy because of my childhood. There's a lot of layers to it. So if you're judging, know that you don't know unless you've been in somebody's shoes. And I'm at peace with it. And if I wasn't, I'd be sharing and exposing myself. The reason why I am is because I want to help people through doing research with narcissistic abuse. There's so many people who lose themselves in relationships, and you just lose your sense of self, and it's done over a significant period of time and you don't realize it. So if you're not happy, whether again if it's a partner, family member, whatever, get the book It's Not Me. I talk about it in another episode. It's really changed my life. And then start making intentions with the universe. Again, I've done it ever since. In January, I said, please clear out all toxicity in my life, everything, every belief, every one that is getting in the way of my healing, of me becoming the best version of myself. And ask and you shall receive. And that's when the huge growl happened, where, like I had thought that these people were there for me, but they never were. And it was very like the relationships were like one-sided. So went through that. And now I am doing so much better. Like, of course, there's still like stuff going on, but I feel like I'm in this like again the sanctuary, and I don't absorb anymore, and I trust myself, and I know I can handle whatever life throws at me. And so I took a break to work on myself and to work through all of this shit so it didn't follow me, and to also be who I preach we should be. I'm all about, becoming the best version of yourself. That's the name of this podcast. And when I first started, when it was called Walking on Feathers, it was like, it started off as me being on this journey to understanding why I was the way I was. And throughout the course of the last 2 years, I figured it out. There's some other stuff that I haven't shared, some stuff that happened in March. Maybe that'll be in a different episode. I don't want to talk about it yet. But I got all the missing puzzle pieces and I understand. And with that awareness, I will again never, ever anyone treat me the way I had been allowing people to treat me. And I take full responsibility in it though. Where I feel like, again, no more ignoring red flags or just like an off feeling. If someone gives me anxiety, if someone I feel like somebody doesn't like me, I don't have to tell them. I can just like know that that's my truth or their truth. And I trust myself more than I ever have. And so if you're gifted, highly recommend just trusting yourself and making the best version of yourself, because holy moly, my gift has gotten, I hate calling it a gift because it feels like it's so like outside of me. My abilities have just gotten stronger, and I feel like I'm able to be of service. And I have always been like very evidential medium. I just feel like before I would get nervous before readings and like put all this pressure on myself, and I don't do that anymore. I literally trust spirit so much. I know whatever's meant to happen is going to happen during a reading. Whatever loved one's going to come through with evidence, and it's going to be profound. And I don't have the anxiety anymore. So I think I'll leave it at that. This was so much longer than I thought it was going to be. If you're still listening, thank you. And I'm sorry for leaving everybody hanging, but I think that you guys all understand that periods of time we do have to put ourselves first, and that's what I've been doing. I have been reading and it's been incredible. I have stronger boundaries with that too. I'm not burning myself out anymore. I literally have just connected with my guides and myself and angels, and I've come up with a really good schedule for myself for mediumship readings. And then I'm working on some creative projects and doing things that like fill me up, that make me happy and whole. And yes, mediumship does that, but it's all about balance. And so that's where I'm at. And I'm hoping to record a few episodes before the end of this year. So turn on your notifications if what platform you listen to this to. I believe I'll be releasing them sporadically, and I look forward to connecting. And if you want to share any spiritual stories, if you've had a near death experience, I would love to talk to you. out of body experiences, astral travel. But honestly, normal humans that have got through like really hard shit. I feel like just right now the world feels so dark. And I want to bring light in. And I feel like the way that we connect is by hearing other people's stories and seeing how they got through. You don't need to do LSD to get through. I feel like it was just part of the plan that I agreed to before I incarnated. I do have to say one caveat. I do not agree with doing psychedelics unless it's in a physician setting. You guys can disagree with me all you want. I had a negative experience, and upon that experience, other people had told me about their experiences, and hopefully that'll be maybe next year when I share that. But so please, if you're in San Diego, they're always doing research studies at Kadima. It's in La Jolla. You can Google it. But they do research studies at different clinics, I believe in Colorado, all throughout the country, and Oregon as well. And just tell the universe, please, like, if this is going to help me, let me get the highest dose or whatever is meant to happen and surrender to it like I did. And ask and you shall receive is what I just heard them say. So I am back. I opened up my books. I am doing readings, and all readings that have turned it's mediumship and intuitive. So I'm just honestly surrender and let spirit just come through, and they bring all of this amazing information through. And it's just been so amazing for me to help people. And yeah, and then I'm teaching for the rest of this year. I'm taking a break, but I will be teaching probably in February of next year. I'm only going to teach 2 times next year because of some creative projects that I'm working on. So, anyway, I've missed everyone, and I hope you all are doing well. And if you're going through it, it's for a reason. Highly recommend connecting with yourself, connecting with your higher self, and you are gifted. You're gifted. That's what I teach during my classes. I just show you how to trust yourself, and help you see like which gift is working, what dominant gift is working. But it's so easy. Everybody's gifted, and I hope for so many things. I hope that by you listening, you can forgive yourself for the things that you've gone through, because they're all just lessons in this lifetime. And through these lessons, that's how we evolve if we don't shame ourselves and we don't get stuck in them. And then I hope that you become a sovereign being. And I hope that you trust yourself and you don't let anyone take your power away. So I'll leave you with that. Please just comment, like, share. If you want to send me an email, I'm open to hearing your stories. I miss connecting. I'm trying not to cry. I miss connecting with you guys more than anything. But again, it needed to be this way. And I am just so grateful to be back and the best version of myself than I've been in this lifetime. So, thank you so much for your support, and for those of you who have sent me messages and those who did check in. And I do sometimes answer DMs on Instagram. My Instagram's verified. Yeah, so I'm around now. Hoping to go live, do some live readings, do some group readings. I just had to wait until I was ready, and I'm ready, and I'm so excited. So, mwah, thank you so much for all of your love and support, and I will be around and connecting once again.